Borussia Dortmund 1, Manchester City 2. However, the Champions League favourites are made to sweat throughout this game because Dortmund would take the lead. Bellingham with the goal, and at 1-0, remember, Borussia Dortmund would be going through. But then Mahrez converts a penalty. Phil Foden with the goal that would then guarantee City a place in the semi-finals where they face PSG. What a game that's going to be. We'll look ahead to those games a little bit later on as we welcome in Jan-Åge Fjortoft, Nader Manua and Craig Burley to the show. Craig, another good Champions League tie today.
Yeah, absolutely. And that goal from Bellingham, and how good was he over the two legs for one so young? But that goal just put the jitters on Man City in terms of, was it going to be another story again? But they were patient. They were patient and they passed it and they got the job done. I don't think it was brilliant from them over the two games, but it was certainly good enough. And I don't think Dortmund can have many complaints. I mean, they could complain about the decision in the first game when the referee chopped off the Bellingham goal, but over the two legs, there was no surprise that City were just a little bit too strong. But I thought they made a little bit harder work of the 180 minutes than it should have been.
Yeah, I think when the draw was initially made, Nathan, we thought, this is a banker. City will get through, no problem. But as Craig said, they were made to work hard for it.
Yeah, I wouldn't necessarily say it was a banker, but realistically, you call it a favourable draw. But the way that City has basically gotten through this game here has been symptomatic of what it's been like so far in 2021. They don't always blow teams away, but they tend to find a way to win. And even looking back at the first leg, when it goes to 1-1, you see City push, and they managed to get that second goal, which changed the mentality completely going into the second leg. And even in this second game now, after Bellingham scored that great goal, and as Craig was saying, what a great 180 minutes he's had there, they were still patient and they knew what they needed to do. They knew the importance of them scoring a goal. And then when they go and get it, they find the second. And in that second half there, I thought overall they showed their class, and I think they're very much deserved of their place in the semi-final against PSG.
And what's interesting, Jan, from Borussia Dortmund's perspective, is once again we saw a performance elevated from much of what we've seen domestically this season.
Yes, but having said that, I mean, over the two games, Dortmund weren't that bad against Manchester City. I think Jude Bellingham is a great symbol of what Dortmund is all about. I went to the first Champions League game. They played Lazio away. They put Bellingham in the side. Sebastian Kehl, the head of sport, said, this is why we take these young players in, to get them the experience. And how good was he today and in the first leg against Manchester City? But after 1 hour today, their intensity were gone. And some of the problems at Dortmund at the moment, as you were talking about, Dan, is that the senior players, Hummels, Can had a terrible game today. Royce didn't show up at all. And then they're not good enough. And they deservedly went out of it. It could have been worse when you saw the draw. You think Manchester City would even be more dominant.
Yeah, there's the Borussia Dortmund starting 11. No surprise in what we saw there, Ali. But once again, we're seeing Pep Guardiola make little changes going into these big matches. And it's striking from someone looking from the outside in that once again there is no out-and-out striker. The false nine seems to be the way forward, which of course has been successful for him for much of this season.
And of course, this is a perspective from a striker. And so I can tell you this. It works for Manchester City. It works for Pep Guardiola. But there are times in which you think, man, if they just had a guy in that position who can get on the end of a cross, who can make a little diagonal run inside the 18-yard box, then he wouldn't have to come down to Kevin De Bruyne having yet another brilliant afternoon, or Phil Foden scoring from long distance. It just feels like they get to a point on the field where now there's an opportunity to do something else, something different, and it's all about those short little passes and sideways and back, and then maybe they look for the penetrating pass, but who is the penetrating pass going to? Eventually, I think Manchester City runs out of ideas, and that's why they are not able to put teams away. Now, it works for them. They've been outstanding. It just feels like it's becoming a little harder than it needs to be. And I think these two games against Borussia Dortmund was a good example of that.
Yeah, is this going to be a problem going forward, Craig?
Well,
not having a striker, not having someone that can put this game to bed.
Well, we talked about it, 2 or 3 months ago, and we said, I remember saying, come a big, say even a one-off game, be it a final, if City had to play without a regular striker, even if Aguero was fit and Jesus was fit, I wouldn't be surprised, because that's what served them well most of the season. I suppose it could, but it hasn't so far. go back to Jan's point in terms of the big players not turning up, some of them for Dortmund. It's difficult sometimes and it's tiresome when you don't have the ball. And City, whilst not blowing teams away as much this season, just sort of pass you to death. And I think it's disheartening, particularly if you're a seasoned international footballer, when all you're doing is chasing around trying to get the ball back. And that's one of the things that City can do to you. But the other thing, and one of the, having watched City over the 2 games, and I know on the day how good they can be, but going back to what we were talking about in yesterday's show with PSG, nothing changes my mind in what I saw with City. I still think if they, when they face PSG, that'll be an issue for them, because John Stones, who pretty much for most of the season, along with Diaz, has been excellent. He had that mistake for England. He had got caught out, didn't deal with the long ball against Leeds at the weekend particularly well. And then it was the long ball over his shoulder today. Whether he was wary of Erling Haaland, who was the runner that went off him, but he didn't deal with it and he let Haaland get in the box. These are little signs, I think, and I think a little worry for Guardiola that, yeah, they're going to outpass teams. But when you play PSG and Neymar and Mbappe and all the guys like that, Di Maria, you make little mistakes or bad decisions or average decisions, and I think you'll get punished. And I think that is the concern for City. And for that reason, over the 2 games, I still see at this moment in time, if they get players back, PSG will go through.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. And for more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for premium content plus live streaming, make sure to subscribe to ESPN Player.